Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartUpTrading.com. It is 8 minutes till 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, October 25th. So, looking back at the previous session, uh, we had basically an inside balance day for the Russell, uh, an, just another very low uh, range day for the Dow. Not and when you see it winding up between value area low and the previous day's low, that is a very small spot, you know, to wind up, and that is the beginning potentially of a bear trap when you see that. Um, so just keep that pattern in mind in the future. Looking at the ES, right? It stayed basically underneath those single prints for most of the session, but inside of value, so it was an inside day and very small in range for it as well. And with the Nasdaq holding above the single prints, basically from the single prints to value area high and inside and up, so they were all wound very tightly. Looking at what happened with structure, we had some salmon run trades go off in the Nasdaq after the bell, and that is your marker for the overnight session to see if you're getting traction above or below those. And when you see it moving from one side or the other, that's usually a go with. Not just the first few points there, but you start getting 10, 25, 30 points away from it, and then that is what you use as your reference. And the same when it goes below. And usually you end up with at least 100 points away from it uh, when we open the next day. And that's long and behold right where we are. We'll get into that in a minute. So for today, we had durable goods at 8:30. I didn't look at the prints, but must not have really been anything. We're going to have revised consumer University of Michigan at 10. And over the weekend, Saturday, right, the Eurozone is going to shift to daylight savings time ahead of us, which is what they always do by a couple weeks. So, everything will be offset by an hour for when their trading starts and ends next week. Looking at positioning real quick, uh, you've got the Qs closed yesterday at 492. It's currently trading 495 exactly. So if we, look at that, we can see that for today, another 80 points up or $2 in the Qs, $80 or 80 points up in the NQ will get you that 497, and then that's around where the end of fair value wanes off. And then if the VIX starts dropping, right, you could see a print of 500 today. We have printed over 500 before, so that wouldn't be a big shocker. And you can see for next week too, that is a little bit of a resistance point. Looking at, we should look at to the downside as well. So 495, you know, theoretically, you could drop another $10 and go back to 485. That would be a 400 point drop. I don't really think that's in the cards, but you have to realize that that is your range, right? 485 would be your bottom of the range, and 497 to 500 would be the top. Just because it's only 80 to 200 points up and 400 points potential for the downside doesn't mean that you should take that risk to reward, right? This isn't risk to reward. It's just showing you it'd be more of a slow grind up. And if you start falling rapidly, you're gonna print. Support should come from around 492.50 down to 490, and then you have to see what happens. And then you could possibly get the 490 to 497 will be the same thing where you need help from the VIX to start doing something else. So back to the SPY. The SPY closed yesterday at 579. It's trading 581 half right now. So if we look at that for the day, 580 should be your support, right? 580 to 578. 578 should be your lower tiered if for fair value. So fair value is basically between 578 and 583 to 584, with 585 being, the upper limit of fair value, and then you start needing VIX help to get above 585 or below 578. I won't beat that up too much. And then looking at where the cash closed yesterday at 58.09, we're up 21 points, so that would make it 58.30 if we were to open right now. And you can see that we're right in the middle of 5800 to 5850, a little bit closer to 5850. You can see that there's a little bit more gamma on 5850 as well for today as well as next week. And you can see that heading into next week as well, you got 5900. So you got a whole another 100 points above there. I don't think that you could basically get 130 points up. But if you get a positive feedback loop going, a lot of times we see negative feedback loops going, but you have to be aware that it's potential to see a positive feedback loop on a Friday, just as well as it is to see the negative feedback loop. And although I give that a very low probability of happening, it is not out of the realm of possibilities. So looking at where we're at right now, you can see the overnight low traded around where yesterday's point of control was at this 58.50 basically. The next untested point of control above us is at this 58.92 half. That should be easily tested, and that's going to be taking back all of the down move. That's where the down move started. So you could potentially get that sweep over. And if I'm not going to do it now, but you can do it on your charts. You can do it for the bell. You can do it for just the session charts. But if you do a trend line on these highs and connect them out, that's we might even be at that or above it right now. So the backside of that trend line would be support potentially for today. So you can do that technical analysis on your chart if you so choose. Looking at, and this is what I put in my equity profiles last night. Basically, both of these indexes had a look below and fell of the balance zone. So the ES looked below 58.20 quarter and failed to hold below there. And it really, when you see it, come back and test support perfectly like that, that is a good indication that that was that, you know, clean look below and failed to go. And the same for the Nasdaq. It had that look below 20,251 quarter. It come back and basically traded that at the session low yesterday to the tick. And now we're almost back up to what I would consider the top of balance, which is basically the high from September 26 at 50,517 half. And you can see that we've worked above there a few times. We had 2 days where we had that turn that went up to 20,680, but this is your first real marker, in my opinion. We had multiple days that stalled out around this area. So, after the look below and failed, this is back up to the top of this mini bonds potential. But the real last turn was at 20,681. We should potentially be able to get a sweep of liquidity over that today. And with it being Friday, you can just check out for the day if that happens. My guess is there will be a lot of two-sided trading starting to happen around that point or just short of that point, right? You could get a first test rejection, you get a lot of stuff. So, I would be taking off probably, and this is what I'll have to decide whether I want to take any trades. If we get up to 20,642, I'm probably just out. That's about another 150 points higher than we're currently trading right now. Uh, and that would be a good place, I think, to leave it for the week. Uh, who cares if you missed it, whatever happens after that? That's some good money right there. So overnight action, 28 points basically in the overnight action. If we look at all the indexes, we've got, the Dow, the ES, and the NASDAQ all trading above yesterday's high. We've got the Russell that held value area low, or I'm sorry, the low side of value area high, right? I draw a zone for value area high. It come down and checked into value and come back up. So all these indexes are bullish in the overnight session. It doesn't mean we can't have that pop and flop, right? That's always on the table. So watch the 5-minute one time framing, especially in the early goings, and then start watching the 30-minute forming one time framing to see. So the next split to be tested is 20,513 to see if you can get above there. Then we got unfinished business up at 20,603, and I think it would be damn near impossible. But again, you can get that positive feedback loop on a Friday. But I think that this 20,800 to 825 is out of the question for today. Uh, but just because I think that doesn't, mean anything to the market. Looking at the ES, you've got the next markers up above are basically from 58.84 up to 58.90 would be where the next real resistance would be. That was about 20 points up. 15, let's call it 15 to 20 points up is where that next true resistance is as far as profile is concerned. And then above that, you can get up and test uh, 59.13 half again. I think anything close to 5,900 on the futures, that's just where you need to, potentially look at, not trying to get greedy above there. And that's only about another 30 points up. So just see what happens with that. For the Dow, you got some nice markers. This 42,747 and 42,858. That is your band. To be honest with you, the Dow could just sit here and trade between that range uh, for the entire bell session and not really break it once it gets into it. I hope this helps. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.